Hey everybody, my name is Sergiu. Welcome back to the channel. This one's about getting the best out of your Yamaha O3D or O2R mixing consoles. Stick around. Before I start, shout out to the South Coast Soul Revue. They're an amazing band. I worked with them last December, and they allowed me to use some of the recording that we've done at work. That was a live show to demonstrate some of this, to demonstrate this desk basically, and we're gonna get to that later on in the video. Thanks a lot, guys. I'm gonna put their website, the link to their website in the description. Google them, search for them on YouTube. They're absolutely great. Thanks, guys. Yeah, right, let's get into it. So this is not necessarily a beginner's program kind of thing, so I'm gonna be speaking to the people that I assume own the machine to start with, or the O2R. They're quite similar in this regard. You can use just about the same stuff. And what I've done here is I've put together kind of a cheaper version of, well, getting the thing to work, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to be focusing on the expansion box, because the expansion box is what does the magic for it. It's what allows it to do what it does, essentially. So if you take a look at the back of the desk, you won't be able to see more than 8 mic preamps. There's 16 line level inputs, and you've got another 8 channels that you can have through ADAT back and forth. Now, well, not just ADAT, there's a few expansion cards. Anyway, so I'm using ADAT. The way this is set up to expand all of that is, if you look at the back of the expansion box this time, you should be able to see that there are 24 inputs. So at the top you've got 24 mic inputs. They all go through to a couple of interfaces in the expansion box. One is the AD8000 by Behringer, one's the SM Audio Pro 8. What it does is it takes 8 mics, mic level signals. It can do phantom power each channel. Same with the mic preamps on the desk, but the AD8000 has global phantom power. But anyway, that's not much of an issue. So you have phantom power across all 24 inputs. You can plug mics into each and every one of them if you want. It all works fine. At the bottom of the expansion box you have the top 6 XLR outs. The first 2 of them are your main left right. The other 4 are the 4 buses. You can do up to 5.1 surround sound mixing if you want to do that. After that we've got an analog jack out. That's your TRS, consumer grade kind of thing, followed by a SPDF left right out, and followed by an AES EBU left right out. That's copies of the left right basically. You can use, you can send to whatever you want to send to, or you can use all of them at the same time. Followed by an analog TRS input that is cascading with the stereo, with the left-right bus. I'm sure you know that's used for stuff like connecting desks together. You've got a AES EBU input, followed by a MIDI remote output. That's so that I can use the remote function on the desk to change programs on my SPX90 effects unit. On the bottom row we have RJ45 and a USB Type B. Now the RJ45 actually wires to a router which I've set up inside the box, and the USB wire is plugging into Yamaha UX16, I think, MIDI to USB interface, so that I can interface between the main MIDI 5-pin DIN terminals at the back of the desk and with the USB, so that I can plug these two into a laptop, for example, and that enables me to do wireless control, and I'll show you in a second. Actually, we'll go through all that. After that, I got a BNC that is essentially just wired to the wall clock input at the back of the O3D. The output is plugged into the 88,000, obviously. Next we have a XLR input. It basically allows the desk to take SMPTE timecode. So that's your linear timecode format. Essentially just goes through a MIDI sync man inside of the box. Out of the sync man goes through to a MIDI Mac man, which then goes to the 2-host 8-pin serial interface at the back. After that we have we have 4 jacks and 4 XLRs. Essentially they're just the same thing, they're just the outputs for the auxes. Anyway, so I think that's it. Right, the way I've got it set up here is that I'm using WhatsApp on my PC, so all of the outputs at the back, which is about 20 outputs, well, not all of them, anyway, there's 17 of them I'm actually using, so they're plugging through ground loop isolators, just like so, and all of that then plugs into the back of the expansion box. So I've turned everything down to mic level, so that I can have mic level signals. Basically, obviously, phantom power is off. You don't want to send 48 volts into the outputs of your PC, because that could cause some damage. And out the top of the PC comes SMPTE, as you can see there, and the USB is then plugged into the USB at the back of the O3D. I'm not using the RJ45, the router, which is set up inside the box, because I'm not using the laptop, because I've got my workstation set up at the moment. The PC is on, so I'm recording with it anyway. So I thought, why bother setting up the laptop and just having another thing when I can just use the PC to do that. And also there's a webcam which is plugged in there. So right, so the first thing I want to demonstrate is the remote control function. Now, there are a few bits of software that I'm using with it, which I am gonna pack inside of a zip folder, and I'll put that on my Google Drive, and I'll link you to it, just in case you have this console and you want to have this kind of setup or something similar, or So what I'm using here is, in fact I'll show you, are 3 bits of software. So the first one is the Helix MIDI serial bridge. So I'm using it the other way around, and this is the trick where I've got the virtual serial port driver, that's the VSPD. I've installed that from Ultima software, so that it can give me a virtual COM port instead of using a physical COM port. And even though I have them at the back, I have enough of them at the back, I just don't have the cable, because if you want to use the 2-host interface at the back of the unit, which is your 8-pin serial interface, to interface with the PC, you need the Yamaha proprietary CCPC or CCIBM, I think that's the part number, cable, which Yamaha did their own wiring for it. I couldn't find them, and even if I did, I wouldn't have used it, because obviously I'm sending timecode back and forth through the 2-host interface. We'll get through that in a second. So anyway, so if I go back to here and I open the visualizer, so I'll explain how this is all set up. I'm just gonna need to open the comms, because I haven't set it up to recognize the first 2 comms as the main. Well, they are physical, actual ports at the back of the workstation. Anyway, so what you can see here is essentially the CMax visualizer. Now, I've only got the demo version for this, but it's the most complete control software for this for this machine that I could find. I mean, look at this thing. You can view, you can even have the actual control panel for the O3D right here. So if I click on here, for example, you can see that stuff is happening because I can do absolutely everything, every single aspect of the desk. I can save snapshots. I can do you know, all the you know, like your EQs. You can do your dynamics, your effects. I mean, look at this, even the effects editor, right? So I can just even mess with that if I want. So it'll show you. You can change your effects. You can save your presets. You can save your library entries. Anyway, this thing is absolutely great, which is why I'm using it. Unfortunately, it's the demo version, and I am looking for the full version. In case you do have it, please let me know. I'll need that, basically, because otherwise it just shuts down after 10 minutes and it's a bit annoying. But it's fine, you know, you can just close it and open it again. It only takes a second. Right, so then what I'm doing is I'm just and all this software, by the way, it's all free, so you don't have to pay for it. So if I open TeamViewer and then I type the IP into my phone, I'm just using IP based because I'm just using this in, you know, inside of my network, so I'm not. Anyway, so I hit remote control, AZ113, and here we are. Right, so now what I can do is I can see my workstation on my phone, and the only problem with this is that it's a bit wobbly, but hey ho, it works, you know. So yeah, so as you can see here, I can just sit there and control visualizer through TeamViewer, and that's how it works. Basically, that's your remote control. So you can do that from the phone, and it's really quite cool. Right, but there are a few things you want to consider, because for example, not all the dongles, not all of the MIDI dongle to, well, MIDI to USB dongles actually work properly. Some of them will not be only past 3 bytes for one of the back and forth ways. Some of them will just not work, you know, the cheap ones. Try and get one that's, you know, not necessarily like, you know, 4 figures, but something that's good, you know, 2 figure is worth spending on it. Because what you can see on the headless, on the MIDI serial bridge, is I'm seeing the debug screen, and this is very important. There is one on the O3D itself. So if we go through to utility, MIDI monitor, that is your debug screen right there. So the reason why this is important is because if there's an issue in your chain, and it shouldn't be, but if there is, you can really easily tell where the problem is. Because if I move something on here on the visualizer, as you can see, you can see all the sysx messages being transmitted to the desk from the visualizer. And at the same time, if you look on the screen, on the actual console itself, you can see the host and the actual 5 pins separately on the actual console, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so you've got your start of the message, you know, and then your end of the message, so you can see exactly where you are, which makes a lot of sense, I think. And you can tell if there's a problem with anywhere in your chain. The VSPD is a paid-for software, but I installed, so I can't. The reason why I can't show you that is because it's expired. But if you've done your settings, if you've done your stuff, if you've done your COM ports, then even if it does expire, you can't open the interface, but it will keep your ports, the ports that you've created, and it allows you to do custom wiring as well, which is pretty cool. But anyway, so I haven't done any custom wiring. It's just a basic wiring thing. Just gonna close the visualizer and, well, all of this because I'm not using it anymore. And that. Right, cool. Next up is the there's also the Strongsoft, I think, MIDI control O3D kind of thing that you can buy, but it's still using a laptop to interface with the console. So, you know, I thought, and it's not really, nothing really compares to the visualizer when it comes to controlling this desk. Right, so syncing to SMPTE, as I said, I had the SMPTE input at the back of the expansion box. That goes straight into the MIDI sync man, and then out of the sync man goes into the Mac man, and out of the Mac man goes into the 2-host 8-pin at the back. So I think that's pretty straightforward, but in order to actually demonstrate, what I got here is I'll open a Resolve, well, DaVinci Resolve basically. This is what I'm using to edit my videos, but this is at the moment I've got nothing on here. It's just open, so I can demonstrate how it actually syncs to the desk. So if we go back to the console now, we click on, we're just gonna go to the auto mix. So this is where you see your timecode, and at the moment there's nothing there. So if I hit play on the timeline on Resolve, then you should see the timecode here sync up to the timecode here, basically. So that's because of all those things which are happening inside of the expansion box. So click play, and there you have it. You can see your host activity up here, and you can see your timecode right there just working. You can so you can just do that. That's one way to do it. Obviously you can also go out to I think, yeah, it's under here. Yep, you can go to MIDI, to your MIDI set, your main MIDI setup thing, and if you open if you allow the timecode to actually echo through well, the MTC, this button here. If you allow that to echo through, what it does is it takes the MTC from coming through the host port and sends it out, the output of the 5-pin at the back, and into the MIDI to USB. So what that does, if you engage that, is you can then sync the console to Resolve, and then you can sync. I'm using Cakewalk as my DAW. You can sync a DAW to the console, so that way you can have, if you want to use a DAW as a playback, you know, device for whatever reason. Well, it could be like, for example, because Resolve doesn't support WhatsApp, so there's a reason. Anyway, you can do that if you want. So, and all you need to do is just click that. You know, it's really that simple. Anyway, I've done that actually. So back to the main page. Just gonna leave it there for now. I think that covers the syncing. I will be syncing to Cakewalk in a second when we get into the music. Right, where am I? So, oh, and I forgot about the MIDI remote bit, so we're just gonna go through that real quick. So if I go to my MIDI remote, I can see, as you can see here, I got on my first on-off button, there's just a program change that's been programmed in here. So I got channel 3, and I got 20 something, that whatever that is, I can't remember. Anyway, so I got 31 for my whole reverb, which is what I'm interested in this case. Anyway, so if I press that, as you can see, the programs which have been obviously programmed here are changing on my SPX90 effects unit. So that's your remote, that's your MIDI. So you can program just about anything in there and send it back and forth, as you know, as one message. So yeah, you're just your LSB. Although yeah, you do want to keep this in mind on these desks. Your LSB is gonna be the very last byte at the end of the. So write this byte here. That's your LSB. That's your MSB. You know, don't have your LSB here because it's not gonna work. you need to have it there because it's a really old kind of you know, like serial looking interface where you see everything at once. Anyway, so yeah, you know what, let's just get into the music actually, because it's getting late. So before I do that, I'm gonna need to open, because as you saw earlier, there's nothing on my auto mix, there's nothing in my happening in my auto mix because well, I have recorded an auto mix for the song that I'm about to play, for the recording I've done, but unfortunately well, I needed to use it at work basically, so I've recorded another auto mix at work, so I had to free that. But anyway, I still save my auto mixes. Once I've done one, I save it anywhere on the PC, and what I'm using to do that is MIDI OX. And again, remember, all this software that I'm using is gonna be available in the description, so just click on it and make sure you can make sure you download whatever you want to use. So I'm using MIDI OX. This is MIDI OX. I'm not gonna go through what MIDI OX does because I'm guessing you probably know. I'm just showing you how I've actually set it up. So if I go through to my Cakewalk projects, I'm gonna go through to South Coast Soul Revue, and this is the mix right there. If I open that, then you can see the sysx data right here, which has been saved in that file. Now obviously you're not transferring files between the desk and the PC, you're transferring data, but still you can save it as a file. So that's the file. Then if I hit send, well, I'm not going to hit send yet, we have to go back to here, to the console, and to MIDI and bulk. Bulk is obviously where you do your MIDI dumps. We're going to click on auto mix, and we're going to put it in request mode. So once we're doing that, if I then come back to the PC and hit send, you should see the mix simply just show up in here, in the auto mix section. So I'm gonna just click, and bam, there you have it. So yeah. And it's not just the auto mixes, obviously you can do your scene memories, you can do your libraries, your dynamics, you know, effects libraries, and you know, channel libraries, remote, you can do a setup, you can do scenes, which I think I've said twice, but I'm just really excited because this is so awesome, you know, just being able to do all of this stuff. Anyway, so if we now click back, if we go back to the auto mix section, what we need to do is we need to load, before we open Cakewalk, as I said before, MTC is now gonna have to come through the main MIDI port. So if I go through here, if I go to utility, MIDI host, I'm just gonna set the MTC in real time to just come back through the host, because no, through the MIDI ports, because I'm just using MTC, so I don't have to convert from SMPTE to MTC. In this case, I can just use whichever port I want, you know, so it's just like that. Anyway, right, so let's go back to the where are we, to the auto mix, and enable it, and then we're gonna go to memory, and we are gonna recall the data that we just loaded into the desk. So select that, hit recall, and bam, there you have it. That's it, it's all loaded. All I need to do now is essentially just open Cakewalk and hit play. So going back to the PC, I'm just gonna close this because we're gonna need this for Cakewalk now. So I'm gonna open Cakewalk, and I'm gonna load the song, which is Get Lucky. In this case, they're covered by the South Coast Soul Revue cover, which they've done, which is absolutely great. It was really good show, so we've had a lot of fun anyway. Right, so in theory this should all be set. What I'm gonna do is, before I play this music, is I gotta mention that I haven't used any drum replacements, there's no tricks, there's nothing actually happening in Cakewalk apart from just playing the tracks out to the outputs of the back of the PC. There's nothing else going on, because this is not about Cakewalk, this is about the O3D and what the O3D does. And the O3D doesn't do drum replacement, and it doesn't do your all that fancy stuff that you can do in a DAW. Obviously you could build stuff in a DAW and just you know, just mix stems, but either way, this is I'm trying to recreate the live situation where I have you know, I have my individual channels and yeah, everything else, right? Anyway, so I'm gonna put my headphones on just because I want to make sure that it's right. It should be. I've saved everything, although I haven't actually tested it, so we'll just see. Right, South Coastal Revue, Get Lucky. Here we go. Yeah, that's working.
Like the legend of the phoenix, all ends with beginnings. What keeps the planet spinning? The force from the beginning. Love. We come too far to give up who we are. So let's raise the bar. She's up all night to the sun.
He's up all night to get sun.
She's up all night for good fun.
He's up all night to get lucky.
We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get sun. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky. 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 We're up a Mexican monkey. The present has no rhythm. Your gift keeps on giving. Oh, now what is this I'm feeling? And if you wanna leave, I'm with it. Yeah, come on. We've come too far to give up who we are. So let's raise the bar. She's up all night to the sun.
He's up all night to get sun.
She's up all night for good fun.
He's up all night to get lucky.
We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get sun. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky. 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 We're up a Mexican monkey. Yeah. Yeah. Come on, Laurent. Come too far to give up who we are. So let's raise the bar and come to the stars. She's up all night to the sun.
He's up all night to get sun.
She's up all night for good fun.
He's up all night to get lucky.
We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. Ladies and gentlemen, are you having a good time tonight?
We're up all night to get lucky.
Are you sure? Are you having a good time tonight?
We're up all night to get lucky.
Well, we're having a great time tonight too.
Yeah, man. Yep, that's that. So what you just saw was the O3D doing everything that it can do. So like everything at once, you know, it took outboard gear, it took all of the inputs used at the same time, it used auto mix, it used memories, transferring data between PC, and you know, it just did everything basically. So I think that's pretty awesome. So you see, that's why I love this desk, even though it's old. I think that covers everything. Oh god, I hope it covers everything. It's just, you know, there's just a lot to show. Mics. So the reason why I'm not using this, and I'm using the built-in camera, the built-in mic into my camera, is because obviously the O3D has been repurposed. But even if I were to use one of those mic inputs at the back, the preamps are just, you know, the pink plugs, you know, the pink jack plugs at the back of the PC or the front. The preamps are just noisy, you know, they just are. Besides, if you were to plug this straight into one of those preamps, you wouldn't just have impedance mismatch, you'll have stuff like the phantom power not being enough, because yes, they all, I'm sure you know, they all have phantom power, but it's only like 3 volts, and even though this will work on 3 volts, which is quite amazing actually, it's still not enough. So it sounds really weird. It just doesn't pick up properly. What else? You've got, depending on how it's all wired, for example, the one that's built into my motherboard, for example, if I were to send this straight into that, or any other, you know, a bus or whatever out of the O3D into that, what it will do is it will take the TRS signal, so it will take the tip and the ring, and it will send them to Windows as a stereo signal. This and any other Pro output is balanced. So balanced means that you've got 2 copies of the same signal that goes through the wire, so that you can phase reverse. So one of them is out of phase with the other, so that you can phase reverse at the other end and get rid of all the noises that have been picked up by the cable, which, you know, that's cool. But if you do that to this, if you send this straight into the PC, it's gonna sound like absolute crap, because you're gonna have 2 out of phase channels, obviously. The other, it's just, you know, my plug-in sound card, the Sound Blaster as the ZXR, does have a plug-in. Well, it does have a better preamp on it, and this tip signal actually goes to Windows and feeds both channels, which is good. And the ring signals just being used by one of their outboard analog units, which have 2 bikes in them, and the ring signal is just being used to noise cancel the other mic. But anyway, it's still a bit noisy, so I just this is the least noisiest option that I had, even though the mic is not as good. It's good enough, I think. I hope. Anyway, so yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this video. Yeah, so again, leave comments if you need to know more about what I've done here. Don't be afraid to ask. I want to interact with you guys. I'm hoping that this was helpful. Again, South Coastal Revue guys, thanks a lot, like seriously, for allowing me to use this material so I can demonstrate this desk. That's really quite great of you guys. Thank you very much. And what else? No, that's pretty much it, I think, for today. Yeah, it's thanks again for watching, and I'll see you when I see you next. And take care of yourselves. And yeah, I'm just gonna have some sleep because it's like 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. Anyways, right, so cheers, and see you next time. Bye bye.